You can see the Josh Allen spin machine in full cycle right there on that day with his owner. He gave it everything he had. But when Keon Coleman comes up, you got to throw him under the bus. Reminder, Keon Coleman is still on the roster. The Allen situation, we have to stop with this. We have to stop the glazing. I understand that he's a nice young man. I understand that he's got the Hollywood wife. And I understand that he fits the image that a lot of people want him to look like as an NFL quarterback and a star guy. The point here is not that Josh Allen is a bad quarterback. The point here is not that they would be better off without Josh Allen. The point here is not that Josh Allen's ceiling can't get higher. The point is that it hasn't.
What the hell is the point? I have listened to this clip several times since last night. I'm still trying to figure out what point this dude who looks like a librarian was trying to make. Because the only point I heard, the only insinuation I heard was the same insinuation that every woke warrior at the worldwide leader in woke has made about Josh Allen for the last few years. Josh Allen is only popular. Josh Allen is only glazed. Ooh, glazed. Josh Allen is one of the biggest stars in the league because he's white. The former librarian in that clip, who is the latest diversity star hosting a show on ESPN Radio. Well, Uncle KC, I didn't know ESPN Radio was still on the air. Yeah, in most markets, they're not. In the clip I just showed you with the dude who struggles to get recognized at family reunions, this is one of the main reasons that ESPN Radio has gone the way of the dodo bird. The dodos hosting shows on this dump can't draw an audience. The gentleman hosting this show, his name is Clarence Yates, but my name is Clinton.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Clint is the latest diversity star at ESPN who wants you to believe that Josh Allen is a star because he lacks melanin. Josh Allen benefits from his white privilege. Clearly, Clint Yates shares a teleprompter with crying Ryan Clark because he is saying the exact same thing about Josh Allen that Ryan Clark has been saying for years. The only difference is, and to his credit, Clinton Yates doesn't break down in tears when talking about the mythical privilege of the white man. I know this might be hard for the kids in Gen Z to believe, but ESPN wasn't always like this. ESPN used to be a legitimate sports network. Instead of featuring pretend analysts, instead of featuring manufactured diversity stars who view everything in black and white, ESPN used to have actual talent who talked about sports. Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, Charlie Steiner, Stuart Scott, Sean Salisbury. Before he was institutionalized with an incurable case of stage 4 OMB, Orange Man Bad! Keith Olbermann, KTP! Keith Olbermann was absolutely brilliant in the 90s on SportsCenter. Today, instead of being known for their coverage of sports, ESPN is known for their destruction of sports coverage. If you want a recent example, just look at what's happened to Inside the NBA. For decades, Inside the NBA was the premier show, and not just in the NBA. Inside the NBA was the best sports show on television. Once TNT lost their contract with the NBA, ESPN purchased the rights to broadcast the show. As usual, the worldwide leader in woke promised nothing will change. Matter of fact, we're going to make the show even better. I guess ESPN is using the strategy absence makes the heart grow fonder. We are halfway through the NBA season, and Inside the NBA, it has been broadcast on ESPN 4 times. 4 times in 4 months. Basically, ESPN has shut the show down, but that's okay. They're making sure the NBA isn't neglected by serving their audience a double dose of Malika Andrews and Ken Perkins. For years, ESPN has been begging their audience to view Josh Allen as the ultimate villain. Crying Ryan Clark, Cam Newton, lead librarian Clinton Yates, they're allowed to say whatever the hell they want about Josh Allen and his white privilege, which is fine. That's fine. Problem is, the criticism isn't allowed to go both ways. If the white man has the audacity to criticize CJ Stroud, that's no bueno. And if you don't believe me, just ask Dan Orlovsky. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel's in the description below. Today on the second channel, going to be talking about the end of an era in the city of rainbows. This week, Jimmy Butler tore his ACL, out for the rest of the season. But that's not the main story right now with the Rainbow Warriors. There are rumors that this is going to be the final season for Steve Kerr in Golden State. Stevie has spent so much of his time giving passionate lectures on gun control, I guess he overlooked the fact that he's about to get fired. If you haven't already, click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Subscribe to the second channel. Even though most of the so-called talent at ESPN is absolutely insufferable and unwatchable, there are some people at ESPN that I enjoy watching. As you guys know, I like Stephen A. Smith. I don't always agree with him, but I appreciate the fact that Stephen A. Smith knows his role and he plays it to perfection. Stephen A. Smith knows his job is to be entertaining, and that's exactly what he does. He entertains. Mike Greenberg, Rex Ryan, Scott Van Pelt, Randy Moss, Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky had a 12-year career in the NFL where he started a total of 12 games. 2008. He was the starting quarterback for half the season in Detroit. The 2008 season was infamous for the Cowardly Lions. It was the year they went 0-16. Dan Orlovsky's had a much better career in the media than he did in the NFL. As a former quarterback, Dan Orlovsky is uniquely qualified to analyze the league, especially when it comes to analyzing quarterbacks. Unlike Mina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky actually played the position. He wasn't a fantasy quarterback. He doesn't brag about being champion of the KFL, the Kimes Fantasy League. Dan Orlovsky spent 12 years inside locker rooms. Every once in a while, he would get lucky, spent some brief time in those 12 years actually being on the field. Monday morning, Dan Orlovsky was breaking down the atrocious performance by CJ Stroud. As part of his analysis, Dan decided to use a bit of hyperbole. Watch it for yourself.
You win that game with 31 other quarterbacks. And it's unfortunate.
With Jarrett Stidham?
And any other quarterback. I mean, it's unfortunate that we don't get this defense not only in the AFC title game, but then more than likely in the Super Bowl if they win that game yesterday.
Some say this was hyperbole, while others claim that Dan Orlovsky was speaking the truth. If the Texans had Geno Smith, Tyler Shuck, Cam Ward, Bryce Young, the ongoing disaster known as Tua, do they win that game on Sunday? With Tyler Shuck, they damn sure win. Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Tua, maybe, maybe not. But either way, whether it was hyperbole or speaking the truth, Dan Orlovsky didn't say anything wrong. There's no reason to be offended. Damn sure no reason to apologize. Right? Yesterday morning, 3 days later, Dan Orlovsky is talking about the AFC Championship between the Patriots and the Broncos. Last I checked, CJ Stroud will be watching this game on the couch while nursing the bruised caboose that he suffered from that incredible ass beating last weekend. Dan Orlovsky interrupts the conversation about New England and Denver to atone for his past transgressions. He performs an act of contrition by publicly apologizing to CJ Stroud. Watch it for yourself.
I want to publicly apologize to CJ Stroud. I crossed the line. I don't ever want to do that in this role. I've been called out on it. Accountability, full stop. Shouldn't have done it. Full stop. That wasn't cool of me. And that was wrong of me. Different way for me to communicate that.
Why? I have been asking that same question since I saw this clip last night. Why? Dan Orlovsky mentioned that he was being held accountable. Held accountable by who? Was this a forced apology? Did executives at the worldwide leader in woke force you to apologize for criticizing a black quarterback? Was Dan Orlovsky apologizing because lonely men overreacted on social media? This is unfair. Only 28 other quarterbacks could have won that game on Sunday. You said 31. That's just not right. Have we really lost the ability to understand nuance? Have we really lost the ability to understand that not everything is to be taken literally? What I'm struggling to understand is, what the hell is Dan Orlovsky doing apologizing? What is he apologizing for? I cannot stand public apologies. I don't really like apologies, period. I get it from my mother, who has never apologized for anything. I've known her for 41 years. Know how many times my mom has apologized? None. She will show you she's sorry, but she's not going to tell you. Obviously, there are rare circumstances where a public apology is warranted, but I would not classify criticizing CJ Stroud. I wouldn't classify using hyperbole to tell the truth about CJ Stroud as one of those rare circumstances. Let me ask you something. If crying Ryan Clark had said this same thing about Josh Allen, if Cam Newton claimed 31 other quarterbacks would have beaten the Broncos last weekend, would there be a public apology? Would ESPN have to double up their order of Kleenex while Ryan Clark cried through his apology? Of course not. And you know what? I wouldn't expect them to apologize. I wouldn't want them to apologize. So why in the hell is Dan Orlovsky apologizing? This is my problem with ESPN. The standards never seem to work both ways. Just say what you mean and mean what you say. And that should apply to everyone. Kirk Herbstreit recently apologized for criticizing Navy. Paul Feinbaum apologized for being wrong about the SEC. Crying Ryan Clark apologized for saying Peter Schrager can't analyze the NFL because he never played in the league. Why are you apologizing for speaking your mind? Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.